Welcome back. Now, today is of course Friday and various flicks have hit the silver screen. Now, among them happen to be the Tamil project Raudram featuring Jeeva and Shreya Saran. Now, my colleague Bhama Ravi finds out if the movie has the goods to impress.
If there's one actor who has selected his roles very well, it's Jeeva. His last film, Co, had generated a lot of positive reaction and reviews for him. And now Raudram, his latest release today, is about, of course, him being an action hero. The film really shows him in anything but an action hero kind of role. The introduction is when he's sitting in a share or traveling in a share auto. But then you later realize that he is one person who will not stop to fight for justice for the ordinary person. Now, but there are also two other stories here basically. Jeeva and Shreya Saran, their love track. Shreya is the daughter of an assistant commissioner of police, but she's also a law college student. Jeeva is waiting for a posting in the Indian Railways. He comes from an ordinary family. He's got a brother and a sister, and his father is played by Jai Prakash. His grandfather was Prakash Raj, who is no more, etc., etc. Now the two lives sort of intermingle because Jeeva clashes with one of the law college students who is a friend of, at least who's in the same class as Shreya Saran. Now that boy has got a lot of connections with the underworld, and this area where Jeeva lives, there's a lot of turf war between the gundas. And Jeeva, of course, since he fights for the common man, rubs both the sets the wrong way. So the first half begins very well, all the elements are very well set up, but then in the second half everything goes a little too way beyond manageable, for the viewer at least, because the soft love romance and this kind of turf war just doesn't gel far too well. It could have been either one of those, or I would say in fact if the director had cut down the storyline by at least another, or edited it better for let's say 15 minutes, the story would have been snappier, would have been far more enjoyable. There is one aspect that we must mention here. Camera person Shanmuga Sundaram's work is quite good, and Gokul's screenplay is actually not bad in the first half. In fact, it's quite racy. Some of the dialogues are very nice and very interestingly positioned, That is something we have not seen in many films recently. But that apart, Jeeva has done a brilliant role here. He cries, he laughs, he makes you sort of, stand up and say, wow, Jeeva has really begun to act extremely well. He's one actor we can all be proud of. Shreya, of course, as usual, with her beautiful eyes and her smiling face and everything, she carries the show pretty well. And Jai Prakash as the father, again another good performance there. Performance wise, yes, the film has nothing to really, you can't find fault with anybody. The only thing, like I said, is it should have been either a candy floss romance or it should have been an action film. Then it would have been full satisfaction guaranteed.
என் பர்த்டேக்கு அவன் எனக்கு ஒரு gift கூட கொடுத்தது கிடையாது. Broken Bridge.
Yeah, yep, it's a good acting by Jeeva, and it's a different story by Mr. Director Gokul, and even all the things are going well. Because the moving was good actually.
Raudram, nalla Jeeva nalla irukku. Climax konjam kasamba irukku, but mavadi ipo nalla irukku.
This movie, there was a lot of expectations from Jeeva, and I think he has fulfilled it as a full-fledged action hero. Chowdhury sir has done well. He has spent a lot on the movie, and I really think that the cameraman has done some excellent and exquisite work.
Well, meanwhile, the controversial Hindi flick Arakshan, based on the concept of reservation for the backward castes, hit the silver screen today. And some politicians were left fuming at the movie, but let's find out what my colleague Bhama Ravi thought about it.
After all the controversies and the expectations and the hype, Arakshan has released. And yes, it is very much about reservation, but that's only in the first half. In fact, the first half, there are so many good lines there that you say you have to take your hats off to director Prakash. The one that I liked very much is when Amitabh Bachchan, when one of them says, why don't we have an ITS, that is Indian Teachers Service, to attract the best talent in the country, just like we have IPS and IAS exams. It's a fabulous line, but the reality of how education is a business is what the film starts to promise, and it builds on that premise in fact. And then of course the larger issue of reservation. That is what had charged up the entire country in the last few days. And I would say that the director begins well, but somewhere forgets to go along the full way. He starts off well, and you have the initial impact of this among the students, which is fantastic. You know, there is this Deepak, who is played by Saif Ali Khan, who is a whose mother is, you know, does ironing, and you know, she is a backward community, OBC. And then there is of course the forward community, and the forward community students say, okay, why don't you take 100%, why give 50? You know, and the way these dialogues are put, they are very, very well you know, introduced, and it flows very well. But the point is, in the second half, the film degenerates into a standoff between Manoj Bajpayee and Amitabh Bachchan. Manoj is of course the villain who takes over. Amitabh has to resign his job as a, in fact he chooses to let go of the post of the principal in the college, which is a model college where he is an outstanding principal. And Manoj of course belongs to the other clan of commercializing education. So there it is, he himself says along, and there is this politicalization of education, the usual suspects of you know, one corrupt MLA having a domino effect on others. There is a corrupt police official, or there is either a police official who sends his son to the school run by Manoj Bajpayee, etc., etc. But as I said, the second half is entirely a very, very ordinary cinema. The first half begins very well, and you almost expect another great art house film. But then in the second half, it becomes just an Amitabh Bachchan versus Manoj Bajpayee film, and you know how such a film can end.
Well, that's the review coming in from my colleague. Well, that's all we have time for, but of course, News in Action continues right here, so keep watching NDTV Hindu. Have a good night.